were some of your biggest songwriting influences in the worship world?
In the worship world.
Well, it could be from outside if it affects your worship music.
That's a hard question. You know, honestly, I don't necessarily think of myself as a worship songwriter, and when I was younger, for sure, I went through a school of worship and came out of it being confident that I was not called to be a worship leader, and definitely not a worship songwriter. The songs that I wrote were too artsy-fartsy for church, and just weren't very congregational. And that's changed over the years. And a lot of that has been co-writing too, taking what I would do naturally and then having someone else refine that in a way that makes it more accessible for the congregation. But I really appreciate and respect Brian Dirksen. I think just getting to worship with him a couple times and reading what he has to say, I think he and Matt Redman are probably the two people that I respect the most in the worship world. Musical influences, there's a band called Over the Rhine from Cincinnati that have always been a huge influence, and they are believers. They probably don't walk it out in a way that a lot of people see easily, but I love the imagery that they use, kind of like you too, where you kind of have to dig in a little bit to know that that's what they're talking about. But to me, it's a challenge to not write the same things over and over again, to dig a little deeper and find word pictures and things that haven't been used a gazillion times to describe the cross or describe heaven or whatever it is.
Right. You touched a little bit on co-writing, and I wanted to talk about that, and also songwriting groups and how the role that can play in writing worship songs. What did you notice when you started kind of meeting with people and bouncing songs off each other?
Well, in the beginning, it was really hard for me because my songs always felt so personal, and so for someone to come and refine, it felt like they were cutting off my arm and not just part of the song. So I think for a while it was very hard not to be defensive about, well, no, I wrote it that way because I had a reason, and all of that.
Yeah.
But I think this is part of I think serving our churches and having that servant leadership is allowing someone else who sees the body in a different way, in a fuller way than each of us do individually, be able to come alongside and say, that's good, but it doesn't make sense to me, therefore it's not going to make sense to a good chunk of the congregation, so how can we say that better? Or that melody is hard to sing, so people are going to be listening to you sing, which is not the goal of Vineyard worship. It's to participate in it fully. So I've seen a lot of value in my songs. Mostly what I hear is, you need to take that out, there's too much in it, or you don't need that bridge, or you've got 8 different melodies going on, bring it down to 2 or 3, or things like that. I think for me, I don't know that I'm great at melodies. I think I'm probably stronger lyrically. So that's been fun to be able to hear someone else who, is very good at writing catchy melodies or hooks, and be able to maybe broaden their lyrics a little bit. I think the biggest group I've ever written with is 3 people, so I don't know if that qualifies as a songwriting group. I think you are the expert on songwriting groups, so maybe we should interview you.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe next week.